Welcome back to America Talks Live. As mentioned earlier, Sunday marks the 15th anniversary of the day America should never forget, September 11th, 2001, the date of the deadliest terror attack in our history occurring on American soil. After hunting the mastermind and leader of Al-Qaeda for years, our nation finally cornered and killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, and that is the subject of today's American Moment.
In the early morning hours of May 2nd, 2011, the Central Intelligence Agency launched Operation Neptune Spear and set into motion a mission to bring one of the world's most notorious terrorists to justice. All indications were that Osama bin Laden was asleep as the U.S. Naval Special Warfare Development Group, known as SEAL Team 6, approached his highly secured three-story Pakistani-based compound. From entry to exit took approximately 45 minutes, with the bulk of time being used to gather up a plethora of Al-Qaeda intelligence materials. When located in his living quarters on the third floor of his compound, the head of the Islamist group Al-Qaeda was found using his young wife as a shield. The Obama administration reported the 54-year-old terrorist was given a traditional Islamic burial at sea. 9 years, 7 months, and 21 days following his infamous attack on New York's Twin Towers, killing thousands of innocent civilians, its mastermind, Osama bin Laden, was dead. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
The sights and sounds of 9/11 will forever be etched in our minds, and today, almost 15 years later, ISIS and other terror groups threaten us here at home, leaving us all to ask if we're safer today than we were in 2001. That's a question I posed to former New York Governor George Pataki when I spoke with him earlier.
Well, JD, it's clear that whether we're safer or as safe, in any event, we are not safe. We have seen terrorists expand their networks. ISIS now is a global organization. Since September 11th, we've had so many attacks in America: Orlando, San Bernardino, Fort Hood, Knoxville, Tennessee. We know we are at risk. We've seen what's happened in Paris and in Belgium. And it's just tragic that it seems to me too many of the lessons of September 11th that we cannot allow terrorists to have safe havens and training centers and recruiting bases were lost by the Obama administration.
And you mentioned the Obama administration, and of course it has been under Mr. Obama's stewardship the better part of those 15 years. I'm just curious, we've put out a lot of money, $1 trillion on a variety of countermeasures, but does Mr. Obama really have the will to protect America in the way we need the protection?
I think whether he had the will and lacked the knowledge or the willingness to pursue policies. When you talk about ISIS being the JV, when you draw a red line in Syria for chemical weapons, and today over 400,000 Syrian civilians have been murdered, clearly your policies have failed horribly. And you know what worries me enormously, JD, is yes, we have ISIS, we still have Al-Qaeda, we have radical Islam, but it just turned out we gave, I think it's $170 billion or $1.7 billion to Iran, a terrorist state looking to export violent radical Islam, not just in the Middle East, but around the globe. And you just have to say that the Obama-Clinton policies, from Benghazi to the Iranian nuke deal to allowing ISIS to have created such havoc, have failed miserably.
George, I know you remember this firsthand, that once the Twin Towers fell, thousands of volunteers, for example, retired New York police officer Paul Garachimsik, went to assist those involved in rescue efforts. Now Paul is one of those fighting deadly disease as a result of exposure to ground zero. But despite contracting kidney cancer, he says he would do it all over again. Let's watch and listen.
I'm sure that even if they said that you're doing this on a voluntary basis, which they did, and it's a hostile environment, an unsafe environment, I'm sure the same people that went down there to work would have gone down there to work anyway.
George, we have seen so many first responders get sick, and there was a major debate in Washington a few years ago over how much should be provided for their care. Has Washington, whether the Democrat White House or the Republican Congress, has Washington done enough for those first responders who are contracting these dread diseases?
JD, you can't do enough for those who so heroically rushed to the site after September 11th. You know, this is always a horrible time of the year for me. Just thinking of the horror of the people we lost, the friends who died, and just the chaos that was unleashed in New York and Washington and Pennsylvania. But the one shining light was the enormous patriotism and courage with which people responded. Not just firefighters and police officers and EMTs, but construction workers, civilians from every walk of life rushing to that site to help. They were what got not just New York, but got America through this hideous time. And it is now our obligation to help that police officer, to help every one of those who responded with such courage on September 11th. And, you know, these are not anonymous faces. Friends of mine who were down there with me at Ground Zero in the days and weeks thereafter are struggling today with lung illnesses and other illnesses because it was just a horrible environment. You could see the air, you could taste the air, and you knew that this was not where you wanted to be, but it's where you had to be. And there's no question in my mind that they would do it again. These are American patriots. These are heroes. This is what our country is like. It's not government, it's people who have the courage to come together and stand up in the face of unspeakable terror.
George, according to our parent website, Newsmax.com, the House is expected to vote soon on a Senate bill to allow the families of 9/11 victims to pursue a lawsuit against Saudi Arabia. But President Obama has said in the past that he would veto this bill. His reasoning is it would make the U.S. vulnerable to lawsuits in the courts of other nations. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, I think those who have any sort of responsibility for these horrible attacks should be held accountable. If you can't hold them accountable criminally, or if you can't hold them accountable like Al-Qaeda by destroying every one of them who was involved in this, and that has got to continue to be a priority, then allowing the courts of law to do justice for those who lost loved ones whose families suffered on September 11th, in my view, is fair. And I understand geopolitics. I think I do better than President Obama apparently has. I mean, he's done everything conceivable to alienate Saudi Arabia, to alienate Egypt, to embrace Iran, to allow Assad to have this relationship with Hezbollah and Iran and Putin. And now all of a sudden he's concerned. I just think it's unfortunate.
George, 30 seconds. The one memory from a decade and a half ago on 9/11 that stays with you still.
The families, the tears, the hugs, the just unspeakable sense of loss. You know, 15 years later, I still feel it virtually every day. But I didn't lose a family member. I lost friends. I lost people I was close to. But the suffering of those family members, the pain, the agony that when you've lost your son, if you lost your wife or your mother or your father, I will always remember that. And I will always believe that this country has to be far more aggressive in protecting our freedom. We cannot sit back and allow that to happen again.
A footnote to our conversation, the House, in fact, passed that bill earlier this morning, allowing lawsuits filed by the families of the victims of 9/11 against Saudi Arabia. We will monitor that, and we invite you back here tonight at 8 Eastern for Newsmax Prime. I'll share with you more memories of 9/11. And of course, back here Monday at 1 Eastern for another edition of America Talks Live. Until then, we leave you with an iconic scene, Old Glory amidst the rubble, being hoisted on the ground 9/11.